What's poppin'? We're back with an update 25.20. Today we're gonna have a lot, especially for normal creative. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. We have a lot of galleries starting out first. First of all, we have the prefabs. This one is kind of random. It is not really the theme of what this update really is, but we have it. So we have the prefab of the Cyber City building. Which you can use. Kind of looks like the Stark Tower. But to stick a little bit more to the theme of this video, or the theme of the update, we have a lot of the jungle stuff. So we have the shady buildings here. We also have the ruins. Obviously excluding the more futuristic building here, because we already have those galleries. But we have a bunch of very, very nice jungle, like ruined themed props. And I know the guys from Creative 1.0 wish nothing more than a terrain editor, but getting these pieces here will definitely help you out quite a bit. I will probably use them as well, even if I have a terrain editor, because it's just pretty nice. Which also comes with a bunch of new nice looking rocks and some, some foliage. And we also have, obviously, with almost every gallery, a prop version as well, where we have a bunch of very nice props, which you can use to your liking. But I would probably say this is just the smallest part of the update, because there's so much cool stuff, especially if we move over to the devices over here, which do have a lot of new things and a bunch of quality of life updates. So starting out first with the new kind of devices that we got here, and these are the plans from BR. If you're wondering what these are doing, these basically act like projectiles. So it means if you punch them, they fly away or explode basically, and give the purpose of what their name is. So for example, the stink flower gives a stink bomb, like kind of explodes as a stink bomb. The bomb flower does kind of the same thing, but just normal explosion. And the slurp plant does give you slurp juice, which is really cool. You can customize them even to your likings. If you move over here, we have the grind rails, which is like the new version for the new season, in the kind of jungle style here. These work exactly the same as the old ones. I think there is like a different setting with the tip type. I don't think that one exists in the normal ones. So this one is flat or bush. So if you don't want to have like a bush every 10 centimeters, you kind of adjust these. You can change that here. Kind of gives me the supported creator code device vibes here. But I think, like, I don't know, if you want to have that in your maps, I don't know if that is something good for creators. I think that's only good for Epic. So I'm not sure if you want to use that in your maps. But the cool part is we also got the new pistol, which just got launched with the update. So we have the Mammoth pistol. It is looking pretty cool, not gonna lie. I like the style of it. It is a kind of one bullet sheriff kind of type deal. Pretty decent. Nothing special about this. We also got the packed slurp juice under the consumables category. You can go up here, and we have it in two versions, the exotic one and the rare one. Let's move on to the small updates that we got, and this one is big because I know a lot of you guys absolutely hated this, but the damage amplifier is finally having an effects option where you can actually remove the effects, the glow, which was super annoying if you want to use just a little bit of damage amplification. You always hit this weird glow over it. So this is definitely something a lot of people were looking for. Such a small update, but an actually insanely cool one. Which also leads me to the next one. We have a new option in these power-up devices, in all of them. So not only this one, but also the grind rail, the grind power-up, and I think the health power-up as well, which is the persist on elimination, which you can now turn on and off. I think that is about it when it comes down to the devices here. But I think definitely the glow and having the new options for the elimination is kind of cool. So for the collectibles, there is two new options. One is only for UFN and the other one is for everybody. The first one is an idle VFX disable enable, but I'm not sure which one it is here. Is maybe this one, but I'm pretty sure I was in before. But the bigger one is that you can now actually change the color for everybody, I think, or so everybody should change the color. So you can change the color of the collectible. So for example, if you change it to white, the collectible color should turn white. Not sure why it doesn't do that here. Maybe it's the surrounding. Yeah, it's the glow around it. So you can basically change like the color of it. You can even have this to like a team or something, like if there's like a team that has to collect specific things. All right, but the bigger one is obviously in UFN, where you can actually now customize this to your liking. So if you have a custom VFX, you can go in here and apply it. I'm not sure if any of these actually work. Probably not. And you should technically also be able to add a custom mesh, but that in the past didn't work too well, and I'm also not sure if it works with the VFX too well. But technically you can do it, so definitely let me know, guys, if this works for you or not. I don't really have any VFX here which would work for that, but technically the option is there now. And moving on to the Prop-O-Matic device, it's obviously a device which not a lot of people use in normal creative, but in UFN very well used with custom props. So we now have two new options. First of all, the disguise animation duration can now be adjusted, and there is also the ping interval somewhere, which you can now change for this device as well, which is pretty cool. So this device recently got a lot of love, so Epic updated it a little bit. The beacon also got a little update where you can now have players show and add to a list when they are using or interacting with it. So you can basically have these options here, which brings me directly to the next one, which is absolutely insane in my opinion, which is the barrier device. Which, no, we didn't get new styles, I think. No, I don't think we have new styles, but this device now has an absolutely insane option for everybody, which is you can now add players to the ignore list, meaning that if a player interacts with this, it can basically walk through the barrier, which is absolutely insane. We didn't have this before. We didn't have like kind of team settings before. We now have this like for full teams and stuff like that. So ignore teams, ignore classes, which is super cool and something that was kind of needed for a long time. And we finally have it. So this is probably one of my favorite updates to old devices with this update. But we're still not done yet. And if you came with UFN, you probably have never seen this one before. That is the creative Royale island, where you can basically manipulate the Battle Royale island a little bit, which was pretty useless back in the days and is still kind of useless. But today we got an insane update actually, which I wasn't expecting whatsoever. But if we quickly go over here into our devices category, we can see that we have Flute Loot Proxy, we have vehicles, Reboot Van, and loot containers. And you might wonder, what is this? We cannot even reach the island. Right now we can actually do that. Epic removed the barrier, as you can see, so we can actually go to the island in this game mode, which is also new basically, and we can place stuff that we want to have at some point. So we can place it here, and if we start the game, we will have that vehicle exactly at this location. The same goes obviously for the loot. This is still randomized, you cannot really adjust it, I think. There's no options in here, unless there's some other options in the devices. This will still be random. Alright, so for example, if you want to have this like a little bit customized, you cannot really just place one kind of device there. So if you want to have this a little bit customized, you can still go into the loot controller options and basically add a custom profile here, and then like say only legendaries, so you will only get, you know, legendaries from that spawn, but you cannot like just have a single weapon there, if that makes sense. You can also know that means I think you can place sentries on the island. So if you want to place sentry somewhere randomly, you can do that. Same with guards. I think these all now are available within the island. And last but not least, we go over the UFN changes, which are somewhat cool. We have a new material for the landscapes, which is the jungle one. So you can see here that we have the mud, and I think these all we had before. We also have the jungle floor here. This is a completely new material. This is the landscape jungle, and you can, you know, use it as normal with all the other materials. It works, which sadly, if you thought about this, notice doesn't give you the mud effect here, but you can still customize it to your liking if you really want to. And I think it looks pretty cool, especially with the new theme that we got in Fortnite. I think this is pretty decent, so yeah. But we also got some other goodies. For example, in the cinematic category over here, you can now find the crane and the rail, which is supposed to give you a little bit more control over your cameras and your animation sequences. I'm not sure, I've never used these, so I cannot really tell you how to use them or what to do with them. But it's obviously cool that we get a bunch more stuff. But for UFN, that wraps it up. There's not too much in UFN specifically, but obviously devices and everything else counts into UFN, so that is technically part of UFN. But in verse, there are two new things which I want to go over very quickly because they're kind of insane and very cool. Alright, the first one which I want to go over with is that we now have global variables, which I think was something that a lot of coders really wanted to have. So now we have them in UFN, but for me this is not the biggest thing. I know this is something that is super convenient for most of the people, but there's something that is even cooler than this. If we quickly take a look into the patch notes here and we scroll down to the verse part here, you can see that we got the move to API and the teleport to API for creative devices, and these are the devices that are in here. So it looks like almost every device, could be a few missing here and there, but for almost every device we can now move it and teleport it, which is absolutely insane. That is a really big game changer, and can, you know, make for some really, really unique stuff. So I'm really excited to see what people are doing with this. I'll definitely have a tutorial on this, if I figure out every way and how and what is working properly, because it's not always given that this works 100%, but that is super exciting to see, and I'm really excited. There's also apparently the all players ignore list for the things that we had for the barrier device, which you can now also use. Alright, and that wraps it up. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow me on X, this new platform, you know, from Elon, and I will see you guys back in the next one. Bye.